they don't show the true form of the clitoris in most anatomy books, and the true image and size of the clitoris has only really been known since about 2006, 2007, where it was imaged three-dimensionally. And it was also undermined because it's named by men, and now it's being taught to you by a man. So even though it was a joking comment, I think underneath there is that feeling in women, and it is a very real way that female sexuality has been suppressed. And that doesn't just affect women, that also affects men, because you can't just do one or the other. And at some point, what I want to do, because also the naming of the clitoris is undermining to the women and their energies. One, it was portrayed far too small, and secondly, it's divided in that you've got the clitoris and the bulbs of the vestibule. So it divides it. I'll show you pictures of that let's show you pictures now. So here is a picture of a clitoris. Now, before, such a bright light on it, I don't know if you can see that properly. Before the end of the 90s, it was thought of as just a little thing here, and that was kind of it. And then when they mapped it out, it was this really lovely big lush organ. And then also these are the bulbs of the vestibule. And by naming it, giving it two different names, it's divided it. You can't view it so easily as one organ if you're thinking of the clitoris and the bulbs of the vestibule. And calling it the bulbs of the vestibule has associated it, or associated the bulbs of the vestibule with the vagina, because the vagina is the vestibule. And it very clearly, for me, been named by a man. So just naming it as two organs and associating the bulbs of the vestibule with the vagina rather than the clitoris, it, on an anatomic level, it just messes up how women view, if they know the anatomy, that is, it messes up how you're viewing it. In holographic breathing, every one of these circuits has an organ or energy points in the pelvis. And within the genitalia, the ovaries, testes, uterus, and prostate are in the fire circuit. The erectile tissue of the penis, the clitoris, and the bulbs of the vestibule are in the yellow circuit. The vagina is in the blue circuit. That's connected to the bladder and the urethra and the bladder, kidneys, and adrenals. It's a completely different circuit. So attaching half of the clitoris and by naming it as part of the vagina actually messes with the energy. In my world, other people don't have that view of the energies, but in the universe seen by me and how I teach it in holographic breathing, the naming of it messes with the energies. So what I do in this, I do not like the name the bulbs of the vestibule. For me, it just sounds condescending, or I don't know what the name is, something. I don't, or not patriarch, what's that word? I can't remember, but anyway, a bit over, I do not like that name. And the name of the clitoris isn't much better. Clitoris comes from Greek foundation and has two meanings. One is the little mound, and the other is to brush or to stroke. And that's what your clitoris has been named after. And at some point, what I would like to do is just give it to the women to make a name up, what they would like me to call that whole organ, the clitoris and the bulbous vestibule. They make up their own name because it's been made by men. I don't know how I would feel if my penis had been named by a woman and it was like his little butterfly or something like that. You know, I don't know how I would feel about that. So my feeling is just the naming of it is undermining to women, and it should be named by women. So at some point we're going to do that. And if the women want to, they can name it in however they want, and I will use that name for the time being. In the meditation and for holographic breathing, it's just going to be one organ. I'm going to call it the clitoris, and it's going to include the bulbs of the vestibule. And if I speak separately about the bulbs of the vestibule, they will be the bulbs of the clitoris, because that is where they come from. That is the organ that they are part of, so that it's not divided. Then it just clears up the energy and the visualization in that whole area. So you've got the clitoris and the bulbs of the clitoris as one organ, and you've got the vagina as another organ. I don't know if people notice that. It just clears up how you view that whole area. And if the women want to rename it, I'm fine. I will just use whatever name you wish to use. We'll just have to, I guess that's more for the people who come and do webinars all of the time. But it became apparent. I didn't know, because I just started teaching it, and I was confused because my anatomy book, which is from the early 90s or earlier, had the old version of the clitoris, and then it had this completely different version. Let me show you what it looked like before the 90s. So, see that little tiny thing up there? Notice how it doesn't even get close to the vagina. The legs of the clitoris come right down, and some, you know, they can be 4, 5, 6 inches long sometimes. So they come past here, and the bulbs of the vestibule fill out that whole area. So it's portrayed in a very diminished way before the 90s. And the lady who discovered all of this, you know, she looked at the anatomy and said, that's not right, because obviously women can feel what's going on inside of them. And they investigated and found this whole organ which hadn't been shown before. And then they, in the early 2000s, they could do 3-dimensional pictures of it. You can look this up online. The print doesn't come out so well. There it is, more as a 3-dimensional. And the only bit showing is that where you've got a little thing called the glands on top of that, which was thought of the clitoris. You've got this huge organ under the surface. And in these webinars, that's going to be one organ rather than two. These are the bulbs of the clitoris. I call these legs of the clitoris. And holographic breathing, I've completely renamed half of our anatomy because it doesn't work properly with the names they've given it. That is the clitoris. And where's the, we got sidetracked a bit, and I've lost the pelvis now. Where have I put the pelvis? Oh, there it is. So you've got the kind of where the glands of the glands, something like that, the clitoris here, and it runs right down these almost to the sit bones there on both sides, and then the bulbs of the clitoris coming down in here, the vagina and the urethra kind of there, but it's a big organ in this whole area. That is the yellow energies, and the front part of this diaphragm is the yellow energies, and also the coccyx. It makes a diamond here because the coccyx are the energy point for the back. And the lady who found all of this, she also felt that she didn't want the bulbs of the vestibule called that. She wanted it to be called the clitoral complex, something like that. So it just covered the whole thing. And the authorities wouldn't let it happen, but I don't see why we have to be governed by the authorities. So if the women actually want to do that, just let me know, and you can all get together. You can do that, and I will use whatever word you want. It's as simple as that. For the men, now with the men are quite often, I've lost the penis. Where's the penis? Oh, there we go. So the men, it's more difficult. It's why it took longer for me to distinguish between the two different circuits, because within the penis, you've got what would be the clitoris in the women and what would be the vagina in the women. It's got both within the penis. So again, there's a light. So it's, I'm not sure if you're seeing it. Oh, it's this picture here. So this is the erectile tissue. Can you see it runs down also along the inside of the pelvis down to the sit bones in the same way as the clitoris does. So it's the same organ in a way, but then extends up here. Within the yellow wave, in a way, this is the important part. And this is quite often, at least it was for me and people I've spoken to, we're quite aware of this bit, but not so aware of this bit. But this is where it's starting in this triangle here. It's where the energies are starting, and then it releases through the stem. So it's important to become aware, and it joins. See, we're not dissimilar. This is where the legs of the clitoris are going. It's also where the legs of the penis are going, and they join behind this. And this part, this associates with the vagina in the women. So the men have got it in the same organ. The women have got it as two separate organs, but you don't have to worry, because when we're working with the yellow energies, it will automatically pull you into the erectile tissue in that organ. When we're working with the blue energies later, that will also automatically connect you to the vagina, and for the men, the urethra and more center of the penis.